really all the Sonic stuff, what it comes down to is I was like perfect age and the perfect target audience, the perfect target like demographic, right? Like I played Mario games since I was like 3 or whatever, 3, 4, 5. Like I learned to play video games with those, you know. And then when Sonic 1 came out, like Sonic was cool. Sonic actually did have attitude to me. Sonic was moving faster than other stuff moved, right? And so like there wasn't anything to compare that to, and there wasn't any expectation of speed, right? So the fact that there was speed blew you away, and the fact that there was a platforming game there still was fine because that was standard. That was expected, right? Like there wasn't anything special. And then it was just like you were excited to get to the faster levels because like they were a cool reward of stuff that didn't exist in other games. And the slower levels in Sonic 1 are actually pretty decently designed platforming levels, right? The thing is just that over time, the marketing and just kind of how Sonic tears it apart, people want to go fast. And he has such an identity crisis because there's no game if you just hold forward, all right? And so like I like them all as they came out, but by the time it gets 3D, you start to lose me. Earthworm Jim, Toe Jam, and Oral. His comment section was respectful. I mean, he seems like a mindful YouTube channel. All right, like he doesn't seem like some jerk kid. It's not like me, right? Or I'm just trashing and bashing because I think it's funny, right? But I do have collected opinions. But there's plenty of YouTube channels like that when you look around where they're having actual discussion. A lot better than it actually is. I mean, I kind of wonder what people expect from it, right? Like for me, it's just this: you're playing a running pinball, and it's just like I like pinball, I like roller coasters, you know, like I liked all that stuff as a kid, and then you kind of put that into a platforming game, and I was like, oh, okay, well I like platforming games too, and I was happy, you know. Like you couldn't possibly have given me anything better at a better time, you know. And then I still like pinball, but I still like roller coasters, I still like physics, I still like rolling balls around and stuff. So I still like those old Sonic games, right? When I first started streaming, I learned to speed run Sonic 1 and Sonic 3 and Knuckles, right? Until I just like I can't play the same game over and over again, even though I don't know, that's what a streamer's supposed to do, right? But like I like those games. Are they a good game? The actual idea of a game being good is always such a strange discussion point to me, because what constitutes a good game? 10 out of 10, high Metacritic. You know, your enjoyment or expectation or what you want from a game, like, you know, did I get all the big emeralds? I got everything multiple times, a couple dozen each game, right? Like, go fast, and the comment says Sonics aren't about speed in the end. Same argument I'm making. Yeah, exactly. It's like I told you. I already knew what it was about. Like, I've been watching the Sonic the Hedgehog arguments. Look, like. You know, as much as we meme about it, like I really do like Sonic. So ever since 56K modem, I was like on all those Sonic forums and all those Sonic places or whatever. And I was a lurker. I wasn't posting, but I've been watching these arguments happen on Game FAQs and like the specific Sonic forums and all that. And stuff hasn't really changed that much. The argument only evolves as, I don't know, he gets run through the mud a little bit more. Things get bad. Had a lack of waifus. Girl, does it make me cry. Sonic Schoolhouse. No, but I did get this lame Sonic. I got this lame Genesis mouse game where you could like build worlds, which it was okay. It wasn't terrible, but yeah, he was advertised as a competitor to Mario. Yeah. He was advertised as a competitor to Mario. I mean, and that worked. I didn't hate Mario. I mean, that was a thing among the kids that like you either like Sonic or Mario, and I just kind of had both. but I probably spent more time playing Sonic games. In the long run, I think maybe speaking objectively, design-wise and teaching-wise and whatnot, the older Mario games are probably better crafted. But as far as like when you look at the broad spectrum of platforming games from that specific time period, right? Which like that was the equivalent of Fortnite, you know, during that period of time. Like kids played platforming games, right? whether they were running and jumping or shooting or something like that. Like the platformers were all over consoles, right? So I played like everything, right? Like dozens and dozens and dozens of them, like probably at least 100. You know, if you look at my list of everything I played, right? So out of that, I mean, there's only so many that were actually that good. And then, I mean, you can argue the sliders, I suppose, but Sonic is definitely, of a particular quality there. Make me mad. First one couldn't charge roll. I mean, charge roll was like the spin dash was cool, but the spin dash also started to tear Sonic apart because the loop in Green Hill Zone, like when it came out and when it was in Price Club and when it was just like people were playing the demo and nobody'd seen it before, you come into the store at the kiosk and the game was always stopped at the loop where people couldn't figure out how to get Sonic around the loop, right? And so if you're a kid in the know, and I specifically remember trying out the demo before I had a Genesis and playing it and realizing, oh, I could run him back along the hill, then run him down the hill, and I had to pick up his speed to make him run the loop-de-loop. And then after he ran the loop, I was like, oh my God, right? I was like, oh, because nothing else in the world really did that at the time, right? And I was like, well, this is momentum, and my momentum means a lot in this. And so like the loop was like an obstacle, not like a set piece, not something like, fanciful. I mean, it was fanciful, but like, if you understood the mechanics of the game well, then you could finish the loop and actually get to the end of the stage. Otherwise, you would get stuck there, right? But when you add the spin dash in, you start to depreciate the obstacle aspect of particular parts of the game until you get to like modern Sonic, where it's just like, okay, well, you just put a booster and a zip line in front of it and just bang, shoot right through it, shoot right through it, shoot right through it, shoot right through it. Looks great, go fast, go fast, go fast. More of rhythm games than a platformer. Yeah, I'd agree with that. Like, it's not really about spacing your specific jumps. Even in the levels where they slow down and you do platforming, it's rare that it's ever like, it's rare that you're ever jumping on tiny blocks. Like, it's a momentum game. It's about movement and rolling and getting the line and all that kind of stuff. It's somewhere between like racing and rhythm and stuff like that. Like, the emphasis is different, right? And then that's what gives it its own identity. That's what makes it not Mario. But but yeah, Sonic and the Dark Knight. No, but I've played it, and it didn't need to happen. A lot of the 3D Sonic stuff didn't need to happen, but it was lucrative, So I'm not surprised it did. But but yeah, it's like it's just the argument just never changes. Nothing changed. 3D platform didn't need to happen. The Mario games are okay 3D platformers. The rest of them, I honestly don't care for in retrospect. Like even Banjo-Kazooie and stuff like that was neat at the time, but I remember complaining as like, I don't know, what was I? 13? 14? Something like that. Like, and I'm just like, you always got to stand on like a platform to do anything. I mean, not a platform, but like a pad in Banjo-Kazooie. And it's like, this is a pad for like these legs. These are the pads for egg shooter. These are the pad for so-and-so. And it's just like, there's too many variables to deal with. And moving around and platforming in 3D is too hard for people, right? It's easy for me. I could do it really well. But when I watch other people do it, it's like, it's just an exceedingly difficult skill, and I spent a long time developing it just because I was there at the time and I really liked the games. But it really feels like making a 3D platformer is probably more trouble than it's worth. Video games didn't need to happen. Combine it with skateboarding game concepts. I mean, they make them control like a race car. They added grinding in the Sonic Adventure games. The problem is, it's especially like, and those are usually in the 3D ones. It's just the problem is 3D games are already hard for people to play. But now you have a 3D game that's moving super, super fast, which the 3D Sonic games aren't hard for me to play either because I got a fully featured 3D platforming skill set, right? So, but it's stupid hard to play. And like I can acknowledge that. Like Sonic Adventure 1, I actually had a good time. I had a Dreamcast when it came out. I bought the game when it came out. I enjoyed it. I mean, it's busted. It's buggy, right? A lot of the 3D Sonic games are. But it was not difficult for me to play. When something's off screen, I still know where it is. The momentum's not a problem. Controlling my character isn't a problem. I don't have the same amount of accidental deaths that people do. But That's not the case for everybody, right? So Sonic Riders, I like Sonic Riders actually. Billy Hatcher, I have not played though. Video games didn't. Yeah, I mean, video games didn't need to happen. Well, sure, right? Of course. But no, Sonic Riders was cool. Unless you're talking about some of the newer ones. The first one was okay. The Wii one, no, the GameCube one is cool. The Wii one is all right, and then like there's a Kinect one after that that just seems like a mess. I didn't play that one. Acknowledges your points. His preference is he likes Sonic when it's fast, not when you have to wait. Yeah, exactly. But when you're fast all the time, when are you actually ever fast? That just becomes natural. That becomes normal. That becomes neutral. Does he talk about Sonic Advance 2? Sonic Advance 2 is like the most running you ever do in any Sonic game ever, right? Like crazy. Like you just run the whole time. All the bosses are running bosses. Your character can't even like sit down, and you get hit and the screen just keeps pushing you forward while you're being hit because you run for every single boss in the game except for one. And people love that at first. And now there's some people that hate it because they're like, all you do is run the whole game. 3D platform was transitional. Most popular games prior to 3D boom, side scrollers rather than platforming. 3D came out. Look at what you can do in 3D. Yeah, exactly. It was a natural evolution. It makes complete and absolute sense that 3D platforming happened. And Mario 64, I think, is still a pretty fantastic game. You know, and it was a nice way to get you used to analog control, and it gave you a lot of leniency, a lot of time to learn how to do everything. You know, and if at the time when it came out, if you had the proper, you know, knowledge, breadth, and skill set prior to that, you know, you were in a spot to take that on and to enjoy it. But now it's like, I mean, I remember trying to watch my sister play Mario Galaxy, and she's good at video games, right? But she's just not as old as I am, hasn't been playing them as long as I have. And it was just like a debacle. Sonic R. I had Sonic R. Sonic R, nah, it's not amazing. Higher specs to make their 2D games. Worst gameplay in 64, Load Runner. Didn't play that. He didn't like the screen scrolling sections in Sonic 2 with the airplane. Yeah, girls aren't good at games. My sister actually used to max out. I picked up her DS, and she like had maxed out and gotten all the emeralds and everything in Sonic Rush, which was kind of surprising and not actually easy. But her preferences for platforming games are different too, just due to age and just due to skill set and just due to like what she experienced. And Yoshi's Island is my favorite 2D platformer, right? And she said that game was too hard, right? And it's not like she's bad per se, but she preferred the DS one that came after Yoshi's Island DS, which I thought was boring because it was too back to basics and too simple. But it was better for somebody who didn't have the stepladder of Super Mario, Mario 2, Mario 3, Mario World, which goes down a bit, and then Yoshi's Island. And then you have everything you need to know, you know, in order to play that rather demanding game that Yoshi's Island is, right? But if you were born after Yoshi's Island came out, which she was, right? Or maybe the year it was, I think, actually, the year it came out. You know, you have to come about those skills in a different way. And, you know, if your first system that you own is your DS, then, you know, they started building games that were a little more approachable, a little more comfortable, right? For people like that. So, and then that's kind of where she comes from. And so why she has different feelings. So not a bad video. I don't think it's a bad video. I think it's a typical video. I think it's average. I think it's honest. I don't think it's a unique opinion. That was my thing. I mean, you know, I'm just messing when I'm over the top about like stupid kid or whatever, right? But like, it's just I understand where he's coming from. You know, I feel like I talk about it all the time. So hard time playing 3D. 64 Smash Bros. Stadium. 3D didn't really experience the 3D. Yeah. I mean, it also depends on how your brain works too, right? Like I realize in my mind, when something is, I would find him in real life. When something is three-dimensional, right? I store it in my head Like I see it once, and then I'm like, okay, this is the shape, this is the space, these are the distances, and then once it's off screen, it's not off screen to me. Like I'm there, I see it, I know where my character is relative to stuff, and I could jump at the screen and make jumps after seeing them once. And I just, maybe that's how my head has always been. Maybe I've done the things to build it in that way. I don't really know, but it's like, it makes navigating the 3D spaces pretty darn easy for me, right? But not everybody does that. But like I've realized watching some people play, once something's off screen, it's off screen for them, right? And it's just not there anymore, and they don't know where it is. And that's just kind of like one example, and it doesn't compensate well for people closer to our age, probably a little younger. It seems possible. Didn't have a Genesis, probably not. I mean, that would be the big kicker. Sonic 1 is better than Mario. Sonic 1's not better than Mario. I mean, Sonic, like, to be completely honest, I was never really a kid to compare the two. Like, I know that was the marketing, and that's what kids on the school ground did and stuff like that, pitting one against the other. But I'm really, end of the day, I'm just like, why can't we just enjoy everything? Wars were fought. Like every issue of Electronic Gaming Monthly had this versus that, but like I didn't care. I didn't care. I really didn't. Like Josh is not like the other kids. Yeah, I guess so. I guess so.